Hi everyone, and welcome to Thrifted Moments. Today I want to share a Stratton compact from my collection that completely breaks a pattern, literally. I originally set out to date this compact because one of the most common questions you see in the vintage compact world is, how do I date my compact? And more specifically, how do I date my Stratton compact? But after finding a 1955 Stratton advertisement showing the same shape as this piece, I realized that the date itself wasn't actually the most interesting part of the story anymore. What is interesting is that this compact looks older than it is, and does so in a way none of my other Strattons do. This compact is large, about 3.5 inches in diameter, round, with an overhanging lid. It was originally painted, although much of that paint has worn away over time on both the top and more so on the bottom. The base is completely plain, no spiral, no stars, no feathers, no woven patterns. And that immediately makes it an outlier for me. When you collect Strattons, you start to expect certain visual cues. This one doesn't give you any of them. I own several Stratton compacts. None of the others are painted on the top and bottom. All my other Strattons have patterned bases, which make dating them much easier to narrow down. You can usually place them within a decade just by flipping them over. This one doesn't fit neatly into the usual Stratton guides, even though the inner lid does self-open and aligns with post-1948 production. And yet, when you hold it, it feels earlier. That feeling is worth unpacking. Stratton began in England in the mid-19th century, originally manufacturing knitting needles under the name Strattonoid. By the early 1920s, the company entered the growing cosmetic market, producing powder compacts alongside, not instead of, their knitting needles for quite some time. In the 1930s, Stratton rebranded under the name we recognize today and quickly became one of the most successful British compact manufacturers. By the mid-1930s, they were producing a significant share of the UK's powder compacts, known for their quality metalwork, enamel finishes, and clever mechanical innovations. Production was interrupted during the Second World War, when much of Stratton's manufacturing capacity was destroyed in the Blitz, and metal was redirected to the war effort. After the war, Stratton rebuilt and entered what many collectors considered its golden age. With that long history came countless compact variations. There are generally three main ways collectors date Stratton compacts: the base pattern, the logo, the inner lid mechanism. If your compact was made in the late 1930s to 1950s, they will likely have a spiral pattern. 1950s also see the curled feather design. In the mid-1950s to about the mid-1960s, you have all over stars, but no text. And then from the mid-1960s to early 1970s, you have stars with the Stratton name. 1970s and 80s had the speckled or a subtle textured design, and in the 1990s, a woven effect pattern. If the inside of your compact has a Compact in Hand logo, researchers suggest this logo was used roughly between 1950 and 1970. If it has a self-opening inner lid, that began to appear after 1948. Mechanically, this compact is modern for the 1950s. Visually, though, it looks like it may borrow from earlier Stratton designs. The size and painted finish echo pre-war forms, even though the mechanism confirms a post-war date. That tension between old and new is what makes it so easy to misread. What fascinates me most is a painted finish. Paint doesn't age the same way that metal does. It wears where hands return again and again, and it records use very honestly. You can tell this compact was used and loved. It wasn't tucked away in a drawer. It lived a life. It was opened, closed, carried, and used, probably for years. I'm drawn to objects that show that kind of history, objects that clearly lived a life. Out of all the Strattons I own, this is the only one that tells its story so visibly, right on the surface. Large, round Strattons, like this, are often called flapjacks, but that term is applied loosely. Rather than forcing a name, I'm more interested in what this compact tells us about continuity in Stratton design. I usually pay between $5 and $20 for my Stratton compacts. I buy them from antique stores, estate sales, and auctions, and a few were gifts. This one, at $25, is actually the most expensive Stratton I own, and also the most interesting. Its painted finish, plain base, and worn surface are a reminder that not every story survives in catalogs or advertisements. Sometimes it survives in wear. If you collect Stratton compacts, I'd love your thoughts. Have you seen other painted Strattons? Do you prefer vintage objects with visible wear or ones that look untouched? Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. My sources are linked in the description. Thanks for watching Thrifted Moments.